So now we're coming toward the end of the life of the Buddha, and the story of Devadatta, it occurs somewhere near the end there. So they're very elderly. The Buddha's elderly, and the Devadatta is already elderly. And yet we do know that it's before Venerable Sariputta and Moggallana passed away, so it's not quite at the very end, but it's getting close. The Buddha was probably in his 70s when this story happened, but it's hard to know for sure. But it's a very good story, and well, it's a very bad story as well. It's at once wonderful and terrible, but it illustrates so many good points of Dhamma in the story, and just so many ways we can be careful and be heedful, and it is a very good teaching story. So, chapter 13, Devadatta. Devadatta, and most of this is from the Vinaya, the huge majority of it, so I won't quote where any of the passages come from. Devadatta was the Buddha's first cousin. His attempt to usurp the Buddha's place is ascribed to the 37th year after the Enlightenment, when, in other words, the Buddha was 72 years old. Here is the account given in the Vinaya Pitaka. The occasion was this. Once when Devadatta was alone in retreat, this thought arose in his mind. Who is there whose confidence I can win over and thereby acquire much gain, honor, and renown? Then he thought, there is Prince Ajatasattu. He is young with a glorious future. Suppose I win over his confidence. Much gain, honor, and renown will accrue to me if I do. So Devadatta packed his bed away, and he took his bowl and outer robe and set out for Rajagaha, where he at length arrived. There he discarded his own form and assumed the form of a youth with a girdle of snakes, and in that guise he appeared on Prince Ajatasattu's lap. Then Prince Ajatasattu was fearful, anxious, suspicious, and worried. Devadatta asked, "Are you afraid of me, Prince?" "Yes, I am afraid. Who are you?" "I am Devadatta." "If you are Devadatta, Lord, then please show yourself in your own form." Devadatta discarded the form of the youth and stood before Prince Ajatasattu, wearing his patched outer cloak, bowl, and robes. Then Prince Ajatasattu felt prodigious confidence in Devadatta owing to his supernormal powers. After that, he waited on him evening and morning with 500 carriages and 500 offerings of milk rice as a gift for food. Devadatta became overwhelmed with gain, honor, and renown. Ambition obsessed his mind, and the wish arose in him, I will rule the Sangha of bhikkhus. Simultaneously with this thought, his supernormal powers vanished. After the Blessed One had stayed in Kosambi as long as he chose, he set out to wander by stages to Rajagaha, where he arrived in due course. He went to live in the bamboo grove, the squirrel's sanctuary. Then a number of bhikkhus went to him and told him, "Lord, Prince Ajatasattu goes to wait on Devadatta each morning and evening with 500 carriages and 500 offerings of milk rice as a gift of food." Bhikkhus, do not begrudge Devadatta his gain, honor, and renown, just as if one were to break a gallbladder under a fierce dog's nose, the dog would get much fiercer. So too, as long as Prince Ajatasattu keeps waiting on Devadatta as he is doing, so long may wholesome states be expected to diminish and not increase in Devadatta. Just as a plantain bears its fruit for its own destruction and its own undoing, so too, Devadatta's gain, honor, and renown have arisen for his self-destruction and his own undoing. The occasion was this. The Blessed One was seated, teaching the Dhamma, and surrounded by a huge gathering, including the king. Then Devadatta got up from his seat, and arranging his upper robe on one shoulder, he raised his hands, palms together, toward the Blessed One. Lord, the Blessed One is now old, aged, burdened with years, advanced in life, and come to the last stage. Let the Blessed One now rest. Let him dwell in bliss in the present life. Let him hand over the Sangha of Bhikkhus to me. I will govern the Sangha of Bhikkhus. Enough, Devadatta. Do not aspire to govern the Sangha of Bhikkhus. A second time, Devadatta made the same proposal and received the same answer. When he made the proposal for the third time, the Blessed One said, I would not hand over the Sangha of Bhikkhus even to Sariputta and Moggallana. How should I do so to such a wastrel, a clot of spittle as you? Then Devadatta thought, before the public, including the king, the Blessed One has disgraced me with the words clot of spittle and praised Sariputta and Moggallana. He was angry and indignant. He paid homage to the Blessed One and departed, keeping him on his right. Now this was his first grudge against the Blessed One. The Blessed One addressed the bhikkhus. Now, bhikkhus, let the Sangha carry out an act of public denunciation in Rajagaha against Devadatta thus. Formerly, Devadatta had one nature, now he has another. Whatever Devadatta may do, by body or speech, neither the Blessed One nor the Dhamma nor the Sangha should be held as having part in it. Only Devadatta himself is to be held responsible for it. Then the Blessed One addressed the Venerable Sariputta. Now, Sariputta, you must denounce Devadatta in Rajagaha. Lord, hitherto I have spoken in Devadatta's favor thus. The son of Godhi is mighty and powerful. How can I denounce him in Rajagaha? Were you not speaking the truth in praising Devadatta thus? Yes, Lord. Then likewise, speaking truth, you must denounce him in Rajagaha. Even so, Lord, the Venerable Sariputta replied. When the Venerable Sariputta had been formally authorized by the Sangha, he went into Rajagaha accompanied by a number of bhikkhus and denounced Devadatta. Then people without faith and confidence, unwise and indiscreet, said, These monks, sons of Sakyans, are jealous of Devadatta's gain, honor, and renown. But the faithful and confident, the wise and discreet, said, This can be no ordinary matter for the Blessed One to have had Devadatta denounced in Rajagaha. Then Devadatta went to Prince Ajatasattu and said to him, Formerly men were long-lived, now they are short-lived. Maybe you will die while still only a prince. So why do you not kill your father and become king? And I shall kill the Blessed One and become the Buddha. That's kind of strange logic. Interesting logic. It seemed like a good idea. I'll become a Buddha by killing the Buddha, then I can become the Buddha. Prince Ajatasattu thought, the Lord Devadatta is mighty and powerful. He should know. He fastened a dagger on his thigh, and then in broad day, fearful, anxious, suspicious, and worried, he tried to slip into the inner palace. The king's officers at the entry to the inner palace saw him as he did so, and they arrested him. On searching him, they found the dagger fastened to his thigh. They asked him, What is it you want to do, Prince? I want to kill my father. Who prompted you to do this? The Lord Devadatta. Some officers were of the opinion that the prince should be killed, and Devadatta all the bhikkhus should be killed too. Others were of the opinion that the bhikkhus should not be killed, since they had done no wrong, but that the prince and Devadatta should be killed. Still others were of the opinion that neither the prince nor Devadatta nor the bhikkhus should be killed, but that the king should be informed and his orders carried out. Then the officers brought Prince Ajatasattu before Sainya Bimbisara, king of Magadha, and they told him what had happened. What was the officer's opinion? He asked. They told him, What have the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha to do with it? Has not Devadatta been denounced in Rajagaha by the Blessed One? Then he stopped the pay of those officers whose opinion had been that Prince Ajatasattu and Devadatta and the bhikkhus should be killed, and he degraded those officers whose opinion had been that the bhikkhus, having done no wrong, should not be killed, but that the prince and Devadatta should be killed, and he promoted those officers whose opinion had been that neither the prince, nor Devadatta, nor the bhikkhus should be killed, but that the king should be informed and his orders carried out. Then King Bimbisara asked, "Why do you want to kill me, prince?" "I want the kingdom, sire." "If you want the kingdom, prince, the kingdom is yours." He therewith handed the kingdom over to him. Devadatta went to Prince Ajatasattu and said to him, "Great king, send some men to take the monk Gotama's life." So Prince Ajatasattu gave orders to some men, "Do as the Lord Devadatta says." And Devadatta told one of the men, "Go, friend, the monk Gotama lives in such and such a place. Take his life and return by such and such a path." Then he posted 2 men on that path, telling them, "Take the life of the man who will be coming along that path and return by this path." Then he posted 4 men on that path, 8 men on that path, 16 men on that path. Then the one man, so it's like the idea to assassinate the Buddha, then kill the assassin, then kill the assassin of the assassins, then kill the assassin of the assassin of the assassins, and so on, until there's 16 men on the path. Then the one man took his sword and shield and fixed his bow and quiver, and he went to where the Blessed One was. But as he drew near, he grew frightened till he stood still, his body quite rigid. The Blessed One saw him thus and said to him, "Come, friend, do not be afraid." Then the man laid aside his sword and shield and put down his bow and quiver. He went up to the Blessed One and prostrated himself at his feet, saying, "Lord, I have transgressed. I have done wrong like a fool, confused and blundering, since I came here with evil intent, with intent to do murder. Lord, may the Blessed One forgive my transgression for such and as such for restraint in the future." "Surely, friend, you have transgressed. You have done wrong like a fool, confused and blundering, since you came here with evil intent, with intent to do murder. But since you see your transgression as such, and so act in accordance with the Dhamma, we forgive it, for it is growth in the Noble One's discipline when a man sees a transgression as such, and so acts in accordance with the Dhamma and enters upon restraint for the future." Then the Blessed One gave the man progressive instruction. Eventually, the spotless, immaculate vision of the Dhamma arose in him. He became independent of others in the teacher's dispensation. He said, "Magnificent Lord, let the Blessed One receive me as his follower." The Blessed One told him, "Friend, do not go back by that path, go by this path," and he dismissed him by the other path. Then the 2 men thought, "How is this? The one man is a long time coming." They followed up the path till they saw the Blessed One sitting at the root of a tree. They went up to him, and after paying homage to him, they sat down at one side. The Blessed One gave them progressive instruction. Eventually they said, "Magnificent Lord, let the Blessed One receive us as his followers." Then the Blessed One dismissed them by another path. The same thing happened with the 4, the 8, and the 16 men. Now the one man went to Devadatta and told him, "I have not taken the Blessed One's life, Lord. The Blessed One is mighty and powerful." "Enough, friend, do not take the monk Gotama's life. I will take the monk Gotama's life myself." At that time, the Blessed One was walking up and down in the shade of the Vulture Peak rock. Then Devadatta climbed the Vulture Peak rock, and he hurled down a huge stone, thinking, "I shall take the monk Gotama's life with this." 2 spurs of the rock came together and caught the stone, but a splinter from it drew blood on the Blessed One's foot. Then he looked up and said to Devadatta, "Misguided man, you have made much demerit. for with evil intent, with intent to do murder, you have drawn the blood of a Tathagata." Then the Blessed One addressed the bhikkhus thus: "Bhikkhus, this is the first deed with immediate effect on rebirth that Devadatta has stored up, in that with evil intent, with intent to do murder, he has drawn the blood of a perfect one." So this comes up sometimes if you're upataking a Kruba Ajahn and you're shaving their head and you're afraid you're going to commit a heinous crime by accidentally cutting them. But that's much different. That's not the intent to do murder or to kill. But we do get scared of that sometimes. Now at that time, when the Blessed One's foot had been hurt by the splinter, he suffered severe bodily feelings that were painful, sharp, racking, harsh, disagreeable, and unpleasant. Mindful and fully aware, he bore them without vexation, and spreading out his cloak of patches folded in four, he lay down on his right side in the lion's sleeping pose, with one foot overlapping the other, mindful and fully aware. Then Mara the evil one came to him and addressed him in stanzas. "What, are you stupefied that you lie down, or else entranced by some poetic flight? Are there not many aims you still must serve? Why do you dream away, intent on sleep, alone in your secluded dwelling place?" "I am not stupefied that I lie down, nor yet entranced by some poetic flight. My aim is reached, and sorrow left behind. I sleep out of compassion for all beings, alone in my secluded dwelling place." Then Mara understood. The Blessed One knows me, the Sublime One knows me. Sad and disappointed, he vanished at once. The bhikkhus heard, "It seems that Devadatta has tried to murder the Blessed One." They walked up and down and round the Blessed One's dwelling. They made a loud noise, a great clamor, performing recitations for the guarding, safeguarding, and protecting of the Blessed One. When he heard this, he asked the Venerable Ananda, "Ananda, what is this loud noise, this great clamor, this sound of recitation?" "Lord, the bhikkhus have heard that Devadatta has tried to murder the Blessed One," and he told what they were doing. "Then, Ananda, tell those bhikkhus in my name, the Master calls the Venerable Ones." "Even so, Lord," the Venerable Ananda replied, and he went to the bhikkhus and told them, "The Master calls the Venerable Ones." "Even so," they replied, and they went to the Blessed One. Blessed One said to them, "It is impossible, bhikkhus. It cannot happen that anyone can take a perfect one's life by violence. When perfect ones attain final nibbana, it is not through violence on the part of another. Go to your dwellings, bhikkhus. Tathagatas need no protecting." At that time, there was a savage elephant at Rajagaha called Nalagiri, a man-killer. Devadatta went into Rajagaha to the elephant stables. He said to the mahouts, "We are known to the king and influential. We can get those in low places promoted, and we can get food and wages increased. So when the monk Gotama comes down this road, let the elephant Nalagiri loose into the road." "Even so, Lord," they replied. Then when it was morning, the Blessed One dressed, taking his bowl and outer robe, he went into Rajagaha for alms with a number of bhikkhus. Then the Blessed One entered that road. The mahouts saw him, and they turned the elephant Nalagiri loose into the road. The elephant saw the Blessed One coming in the distance. When he saw him, he raised his trunk, and with his ears and tail erect, he charged toward the Blessed One. The Blessed One saw him coming in the distance. The bhikkhus saw him coming in the distance. They said, "Lord, the savage elephant Nalagiri, the man-killer, is loose in the road. Lord, let the Blessed One turn back. Lord, let the Sublime One turn back." Come, bhikkhus, do not be afraid. It is impossible. It cannot happen that anyone can take a perfect one's life by violence. When perfect ones attain final nibbana, it is not through violence on the part of another. A second and a third time the bhikkhus said the same thing and received the same answer. Now at that time, people in the palaces and houses and huts were awaiting in suspense. Those of them without faith or confidence, the unwise and indiscreet, said, "The great monk who is so handsome will get hurt by the elephant." And the faithful and confident, the wise and discreet, said, "Soon the tusker will be contending with a tusker." Then the Blessed One encompassed the elephant Nalagiri with thoughts of loving kindness. The elephant lowered his trunk, and he went up to the Blessed One and stood before him. The Blessed One stroked the elephant's forehead with his right hand and addressed him with these stanzas. "O elephant, do not attack a tusker, for it is hurtful to attack a tusker. There is no happy destiny beyond for one who kills a tusker. Having done with vanity and recklessness, the reckless have no happy destiny. So do you act in such wise that you go to a happy destination." The elephant Nalagiri took the dust of the Blessed One's feet with his trunk and sprinkled it on his head, after which he retreated backwards for as long as the Blessed One was in sight. Then he went to the elephant stables and stood in his own place. It was thus that he was tamed. Now at that time people sang this stanza: "Some tame by means of sticks, and some with goads and whips, but here a sage has tamed a tusker, using neither stick nor weapon." People were annoyed, they murmured and protested. "This wretch, Devadatta, is actually wicked enough to try to kill the monk Gotama, who is so mighty and powerful." And Devadatta's gain and honor shrank away, while the Blessed One's gain and honor grew greater. Now after Devadatta's gain and honor had shrunk away, he and his adherents used to go and eat together among families, informing them beforehand of whatever they wanted. People were annoyed, and they murmured and protested. "How can the monks, sons of the Sakyans, go and eat together among families, informing them beforehand of whatever they want? Who does not enjoy nice things? Who does not like good things?" Bhikkhus who had few wants were likewise annoyed. They told the Blessed One. The Blessed One asked Devadatta, "Is it true, as it seems, that you are doing this?" "It is true, Lord." The Blessed One rebuked him, and after giving a talk on the Dhamma, he addressed the bhikkhus thus: "Now, bhikkhus, I shall allow bhikkhus to eat among families in groups of not more than 3. This is for 3 reasons: for the restraint of wrong-minded persons and for the comfort of reasonable persons, in order that those of evil wishes may not form a faction and cause a schism in the Sangha, and out of compassion for families. But eating in groups should be treated according to the procedure already laid down." Devadatta went to Kokalika, Kata Morataka Tissa, Kanda Deyi Puta, and Samudadatta, and he said, "Come, friends, let us create a schism and a breach of concord in the monk Gotama's Sangha." Kokalika said, "The monk Gotama is mighty and powerful, friend. How can we do that?" "Come, friends, we can go to the monk Gotama and demand 5 points of him. Lord, the Blessed One has in many ways commended one of few wishes, who is contented, devoted to effacement, scrupulous and amiable, given to diminution of attachment, and energetic. Now here are 5 points that conduce to those states. Lord, it would be good if bhikkhus were forest dwellers for life, and any who went to live in a village were censured. If they were eaters of begged-for alms food for life, and any who accepted an invitation were censured. If they were refuse rag wearers for life, and any who wore a robe given by householders were censured. If they were tree root dwellers for life, and any who dwelt in buildings were censured. If they were not to eat fish or meat for life, and any who did were censured. The monk Gotama will never grant them, so we can inform people about these 5 points. It will be possible with these 5 points to create a schism and a breach of concord in the monk Gotama's Sangha, for people admire self-denial. Then Devadatta went with his adherents to the Blessed One, and after paying homage to him, he sat down at one side. Having done so, he said, Lord, the Blessed One has in many ways commended one of few wishes, who is contented, devoted to effacement, scrupulous and amiable, given to diminution of attachment, and energetic. Now here are 5 points that conduce to these things, and he enumerated the 5 points. Enough, Devadatta. Let him who wishes be a forest dweller. Let him who wishes dwell in a village. Let him who wishes be an eater of begged-for alms food. Let him who wishes accept invitations. Let him who wishes be a refuse rag wearer. Let him who wishes wear a robe given by householders. Living at the root of a tree is allowed by me for 8 months of the year, but not during the rains. I have allowed fish and meat that is pure in 3 aspects, when it is not seen, heard, or suspected to have been killed for one personally, to have been killed for bhikkhus. Devadatta was happy and elated then. The Blessed One does not grant these 5 points. He got up together with his adherents, and after paying homage to the Blessed One, he departed, keeping him on his right. He went into Rajagaha and proceeded to inform people about the 5 points thus. Friends, we have been to the monk Gotama and demanded these 5 points of him, and he told them of the 5 points, concluding, the Blessed One does not grant these 5 points, but we undertake to live by them. Then unwise people lacking faith said, these monks, sons of the Sakyans, are scrupulous in effacement, but the monk Gotama lives in luxury, thinking of luxury. But the wise and faithful were annoyed, and they murmured and protested. How can Devadatta aim at creating a schism and a breach of concord in the Sangha? Bhikkhus heard them disapproving. Those bhikkhus who had few wants disapproved likewise, and they told the Blessed One. He asked Devadatta, Devadatta, is it true as it seems that you are aiming to create a schism and a breach of concord in the Sangha? It is true, Lord. Enough, Devadatta. Do not try to create a schism and a breach of concord in the Sangha. He who breaks the Sangha's concord reaps misery lasting the rest of the age. He ripens out in hell for the rest of the aeon. But he who reunites the Sangha already split reaps the highest reward of merit and enjoys heaven for the rest of the aeon. Enough, Devadatta. Do not try to create a schism in the Sangha. A schism in the Sangha is a grave thing. When it was morning, the Venerable Ananda dressed, and taking his bowl and outer robe, he went into Rajagaha for alms. Devadatta saw him, and he went up to him and said, Now, friend Ananda, beginning from today, I shall keep the holy day of the Uposatha and carry out acts of the Sangha apart from the Blessed One and the Sangha of Bhikkhus. On his return, the Venerable Ananda told the Blessed One. Knowing the meaning of this, the Blessed One then uttered this exclamation, Good can be easily done by the good. Good is not easily done by the bad. Evil is easily done by the bad. Noble ones cannot do evil deeds. On the next Uposatha day, Devadatta held a ballot. Friends, we went to the Blessed One and we demanded the 5 points of him. He refused. Now we undertake to live by these 5 points. Let any venerable ones in favor of these 5 points take a voting ticket. At that time there were 500 bhikkhus from Vaisali, sons of the Vajjayans. They were new bhikkhus with no discretion of their own, thinking, this is the Dhamma, this is the discipline, this is the Master's teaching. They took voting tickets. Having now created a schism in the Sangha, Devadatta left for Gayasisa with the 500 bhikkhus. The Blessed One was living at Rajagaha in the Vulture Peak Rock. It was soon after Devadatta's departure. Then, when the night was well advanced, Brahma Sahampati, of marvelous appearance and illuminating the whole of the Vulture Peak, went to the Blessed One, and after paying homage to him, he stood at one side. Then he addressed these stanzas to the Blessed One. The act of giving fruit destroys the aloe, plantain, and bamboo, and fame destroys the wastrel too, as foaling does the she-mule. Sariputta and Moggallana went to the Blessed One. They told him, Lord, Devadatta has created a schism in the Sangha and has set out for Gayasisa with 500 bhikkhus. Do you not both feel pity for those new bhikkhus, Sariputta? Go before they come to ruin. Even so, Lord, they replied, and they left for Gayasisa. After they had gone, a bhikkhu stood not far from the Blessed One, weeping. The Blessed One asked him, Why are you weeping, bhikkhu? Lord, when the Blessed One's chief disciples, Sariputta and Moggallana, have gone to Devadatta, they will go over to his teaching too. It is impossible, bhikkhu. It cannot happen that Sariputta and Moggallana should go over to Devadatta's teaching. On the contrary, they will convert the bhikkhus who have gone over. Devadatta was sitting, teaching the Dhamma, surrounded by a large assembly. He saw the Venerable Sariputta and Venerable Moggallana coming in the distance. He told the bhikkhus, See, bhikkhus, the Dhamma is well proclaimed by me. Even the monk Gautama's chief disciples, Sariputta and Moggallana, come to me and come over to my teaching. When this was said, Kokalika warned Devadatta, Friend Devadatta, do not trust them. They are in the grip of evil wishes. Enough, friend, they are welcome, since they have come over to my teaching. Devadatta then offered the Venerable Sariputta 1/2 of his seat. Come, friend Sariputta, sit here. Enough, friend, the Venerable Sariputta replied, and taking a seat, he sat down at one side. The Venerable Moggallana did likewise. Now when Devadatta had instructed, urged, roused, and encouraged the bhikkhus with talk on the Dhamma for much of the night, he said to the Venerable Sariputta, Friend Sariputta, the Sangha of bhikkhus is still free from fatigue and drowsiness. Perhaps a talk on the Dhamma may occur to you. My back is paining me, so I will rest it. Even so, friend, the Venerable Sariputta replied. Then Devadatta laid out his cloak of patches folded in 4, and he lay down on his right side in the lion's sleeping pose, 1 foot overlapping the other. But he was tired, and he dropped off to sleep for a while, forgetful and not fully aware. Then the Venerable Sariputta advised and admonished the bhikkhus with talk on the Dhamma, using the marvel of reading minds, and the Venerable Moggallana advised and admonished them with talk on the Dhamma, using the marvel of supernormal power, till the spotless, immaculate vision of the Dhamma arose in them. All that is subject to arising is subject to cessation. Thereupon the Venerable Sariputta addressed the bhikkhus. Bhikkhus, we are going back to the Blessed One. Whoever upholds the Blessed One's Dhamma, let him come with us. And so the Venerable Sariputta and the Venerable Moggallana took the 500 bhikkhus with them back to the bamboo grove. Kokalika roused Devadatta. Friend Devadatta, get up. The bhikkhus have been led away by Sariputta and Moggallana. Did I not tell you not to trust them because they have evil wishes and are in the grip of evil wishes? And then and there, hot blood gushed from Devadatta's mouth. The Venerable Sariputta and the Venerable Moggallana went to the Blessed One. They said, Lord, it would be well for the bhikkhus who have sided with the creator of a schism in the Sangha to take the admission again. Enough, Sariputta, do not suggest that bhikkhus who have sided with the creator of a schism in the Sangha should take the admission again. Have them confess to a serious transgression. But how did Devadatta act? Lord, Devadatta acted exactly as the Blessed One has done, when, after instructing, urging, rousing, and encouraging the bhikkhus for much of the night, he has said to me, Sariputta, the Sangha of bhikkhus is still free from fatigue and drowsiness. Perhaps a talk on the Dhamma may occur to you. My back is paining me, so I will rest it. Then the Blessed One addressed the bhikkhus. Once, bhikkhus, there were some elephants living near a big pond in a forest. They would go into the pond and pull up lotus stalks with their trunks, and when they had washed them quite clean, they would chew them up and swallow them free from mud. That was good for both their looks and their health, and they incurred no death or deadly suffering because of that. But some young calves, uninstructed by those elephants, went into the pond and pulled up lotus stalks with their trunks. But instead of washing them quite clean, they chewed them up and swallowed them along with the mud. That was not good for either their looks or their health, and they incurred death and deadly suffering because of that. So too, bhikkhus, Devadatta will die miserably through imitating me. Through aping me, he will die wretchedly, just like the calf that eats the mud as well, when copying the tusker eating lotus, watchful in the river, shaking off soil. Bhikkhus, a bhikkhu is fit to go on a mission when he has 8 qualities. What are the 8? Here a bhikkhu is one who listens, who gets others to listen, who learns, who remembers, who recognizes, who gets others to recognize, who is skilled in the consistent and the inconsistent, and who does not make trouble. A bhikkhu is fit to go on a mission when he has these 8 qualities. Now, Sariputta has these 8 qualities. Consequently, he is fit to go on a mission. And there's verses. He does not falter when he comes before a high assembly. He does not lose his thread of speech or cover up his message. Unhesitatingly, he speaks out. No questioning can ruffle him. A bhikkhu such as this is fit to go upon a mission. Bhikkhus, Devadatta is overcome and his mind is obsessed by 8 evil things, for which he will inevitably go to the states of privation, to hell, for the duration of the aeon. What are the 8? They are gain, lack of gain, fame, lack of fame, honor, lack of honor, evil wishes, and evil friends. Devadatta will go to the states of privation, to hell, for the duration of the age, because he is overcome and his mind is obsessed by these 8 things. Bhikkhus, it is good constantly to overcome each and all of these 8 things as they arise. And with what benefit in view does a bhikkhu do so? While taints and fever of defilement might arise in him who did not constantly overcome each and all of these things as they arise, there are no taints and fever of defilement in him who constantly overcomes each and all of these things as they arise. Therefore, bhikkhus, train yourselves thus. We shall constantly overcome each and all of these things as they arise. Devadatta is overcome and his mind is obsessed by 3 evil things, for which he will inevitably go to the states of privation, to hell, for the duration of the aeon. What are the 3? They are evil wishes, evil friends, and stopping halfway with the attainment of mere earthly distinction of supernormal powers. The canon does not relate the actual circumstances of Devadatta's death. According to the commentary, the earth opened and he was swallowed up and engulfed in hell, to remain there till the destruction of the hells on the advent of the next cycle of world contraction. The commentary also relates that after King Bimbisara's abdication, his son Ajatasattu had him imprisoned and later put to death. The accession of the ambitious Ajatasattu was followed by wars between the 2 dominant kingdoms of Magadha and Kosala, between nephew and uncle. And this last passage is from the Samyutta Nikaya 3, Suttas 14 and 15. Thus I heard, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi. Now at that time Ajatasattu Vedehiputta, king of Magadha, mustered a 4-constituent army with elephants, cavalry, charioteers, and infantry, and he marched into the Kasi country against Pasenadi, king of Kosala. King Pasenadi heard about it, and himself mustering a 4-constituent army, he advanced into the Kasi country to engage King Ajatasattu in battle. The two kings fought. In that war, King Ajatasattu beat King Pasenadi, who retreated to his own royal capital, Savatthi. Bhikkhus gathering alms in Savatthi heard about this, and they went and told the Blessed One. He said, Bhikkhus, Ajatasattu Vedehiputta, king of Magadha, has bad friends, bad allies, bad intimates. Pasenadi, king of Kosala, has good friends, good allies, good intimates. But King Pasenadi will pass this night in suffering as one who is beaten. And verse, conquest begets enemies. One vanquished has a bed of pain. A man at peace can lie in quiet. No conquest or defeat for him. Later the two kings fought as before, but in that battle King Pasenadi captured King Ajatasattu alive. Then it occurred to King Pasenadi, though this Ajatasattu Vedehiputta, king of Magadha, has injured me who did him no injury, still he is my nephew. Why should I not confiscate all his elephants, his horses, his chariots, and his infantry, and let him go alive? Bhikkhus gathering alms in Savatthi heard about this, and they went and told the Blessed One. Knowing the meaning of this, the Blessed One then uttered this exclamation. A man may plunder as he will. When others plunder in return, he, plundered, plunders them again. The fool believes he is in luck as long as evil does not ripen, but when it does, the fool fares ill. The slayer gets himself a slayer. The victor finds a conqueror. The abuser gets himself abused. The persecutor persecuted. The wheel of deeds turns round again and makes the plundered plunderers. So that's the end of that chapter. There is actually a holy site. It's supposed to be where Devadatta died, because he actually was quite far away. He went to Gayasisa with the 500 bhikkhus, and then, so that's far from Rajagaha, and there's a certain place on the path, it's actually near Bodh Gaya, and it's on the path from Gayasisa to Rajagaha, where they say Devadatta got swallowed up into the earth. And so it's one of these very minor holy sites, but we tried to find it with the Nanachat Sangha, and it's not really marked, but it's kind of like we found ourselves wandering around in these rice fields and very kind of remote area, but then there's a little area where there's these prayer flags, so we thought maybe that was where it was, kind of, but not really marked very clearly. So according to the commentaries, Devadatta was actually finally wanting to ask forgiveness from the Buddha, and the Buddha was saying, well, it's impossible that he can make it to me to ask for forgiveness. And then on the way, then he gets swallowed up into the earth. But then and I thought this was in the suttas, but it must be in the commentaries, because Ñāṇamoli says it's not in the suttas, but then the Buddha saying that Devadatta will be a Pacceka Buddha really, really, really far in the future, 100 aeons in the future or something. He'll be a Pacceka Buddha named Attasaro. And so even he will eventually attain enlightenment, but a very, very long time from now. Is there any questions in that? It's 10:30, but if anybody has a question, we could.
So Devadatta has some kind of system, everyone getting a vote. How's that different from like the Sangha, the Buddha's Sangha, sort of consensus?
Yeah, he. I think that was his ploy to get people to go away with him. Okay. What's the question?
Oh, I guess how's it different from like the consensus-based kind of decision making in Sangha?
Yeah, it's. I think everything he was doing was different. Consensus is everybody agrees. I think his vote was to see how many people would go away with him. And when you create a schism in the Sangha, it's splitting off from the group, so it's saying, we're going to do our thing, you do your thing, recite separate patimokkha's. So it's like, take a vote, who's going to split off with me, create a new, you could think of it as like seceding from the Buddha's country, Buddha's teaching. So it's like who votes for secession, and then the 500 bhikkhus, they don't really know what's happening. They're inspired by him because he's saying, yeah, I'm going to make it mandatory, all these ascetic practices. It's interesting because they're noble in and of themselves, but he uses that as a ploy. It's like using the Dhamma against the Dhamma.